Hello, everybody. Seems like tomorrow I won't have access to internet, so I am going to read chapter 14 that I should be reading tomorrow. I'll be reading it today, just so that we already have it. So before we start, I'm going to surrender this transmission to the Holy Spirit, so He'll be the one guiding for His light and understanding and His guide and the connection and integration of Jesus's words to the whole sonship. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent Him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because He who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever He wishes, knowing He goes there with me. I will heal as I let Him teach me how to heal. Chapter 14. This chapter is entitled The Light of Guiltlessness, which is the chapter we just finished reading with the whole sonship, following a lesson a day. So the light of guiltlessness, and this chapter has 12 sections also, just like the one before. And we're going to start with the first section. The first section is the logic of blessedness. The logic of blessedness. The light of guiltlessness. 1. Yes, yes, you are blessed indeed. You are blessed indeed. But in this world, you do not know it. Yet you have the means for learning it and seeing it quite clearly. The Holy Spirit uses logic as easily and as well as does the ego, except that his conclusions are not insane. They take a direction exactly opposite, pointing as clearly to heaven as the ego points to darkness and to death. We have followed much of the ego's logic and seen its logical conclusions. And having seen them, we have realized that they cannot be seen but in delusions, for there alone is their seeming clearness seems to be clearly seen. Let us now turn away from them and follow the simple logic by which the Holy Spirit. Let us now turn away from them. Simple. And follow the simple logic by which the Holy Spirit teaches you the simple conclusions that speak for truth and only truth. 2. If you are blessed and do not know it, you need to learn it must be so. The knowledge is not taught, but its conditions must be acquired. For it is they that have been thrown away. You can learn to bless and cannot give what you have not. If then you offer blessing, it must have come first to yourself. If I offer blessing, it must have come first to myself. And you must also have accepted it as yours, for how else could you give it away? This is why your miracles offer you the testimony that you are blessed. If what you offer is complete forgiveness, you must have let guilt go, accepting the atonement for yourself and learning you are guiltless. How could you learn what has been done for you, but which you do not know, unless you do what you would have to do if it had been done unto you? 3. Indirect proof of truth is needed in a world made of denial and without direction. You will perceive the need for this if you will realize that to deny is the decision not to know. The logic of the world must therefore lead to nothing, for its goal is nothing. If you decide to have and give and be nothing except a dream, you must direct your thoughts unto oblivion. And if you have and give and are everything, and all this has been denied, your thought system is closed off and wholly separated from the truth. This is the insane world which you perceive, and do not underestimate the actual extent of its insanity. There is no area of your perception that it has not touched, and your dream is sacred to you. 4. That is why God placed the Holy Spirit within you, where you placed the dream. Seeing is always outward. Were your thoughts wholly of you, the thought system which you have made would be forever dark. Were your thoughts wholly of you, the thought system which you have made would be forever dark. The thoughts which the mind of God's Son projects have all the power that He gives them. The thoughts He shares with God are beyond His belief, but those He made are His beliefs. And it is these and not the truth that He has chosen to defend and love. They will not be taken from Him, but they can be given up by Him, for the source of their undoing is in Him. There is nothing in this world to teach him that the logic of the world is totally insane and leads to nothing. But in Him who made this insane logic, there is one who knows it leads to nothing, but He knows of everything. 5. Any direction which would lead you where the Holy Spirit leads you not goes nowhere. Anything you deny which He knows to be true, you have denied yourself, and He must therefore teach you not to deny it. Undoing is indirect as doing is. You were created only to create, neither to see nor do. These are by indirect expressions of the will to live, which has been blocked by the capricious and unholy whim of death and murder that your Father shares not with you. You have set yourself the task of sharing what cannot be shared, and while you think it's possible to learn to do this, you will not believe all that is possible to learn to do. 6. The Holy Spirit, therefore, must begin His teachings by showing you what you can never learn. His message is not indirect, but He must introduce the simple truth into a thought system which has become so twisted and so complex you cannot see that it means nothing. He looks merely at its foundation and dismisses it. But you, who cannot undo what you have made nor escape the heavy burden of its dullness that lies upon your mind, cannot see through it. It deceives you because you chose to deceive yourself. Those who chose to be deceived, those who choose to be deceived, will merely attack direct approaches which would seem but to encroach upon deception and strike at it. We just finished reading the first section of chapter 15. Chapter 14 is entitled The Light of Guiltlessness, and we just read the first section, The Logic of Blessedness, and we're going to read the second section, The Happy Learner. The Happy Learner. 1. The Holy Spirit needs a happy learner in whom His mission can be happily accomplished. You who are steadfastly devoted to misery must first recognize that you are miserable and not happy. You who are steadfastly devoted to misery must first recognize that you are miserable and not happy. The Holy Spirit cannot teach you without this contrast. For you believe that misery is happiness. This has so confused you that you have undertaken to learn to do what you can never do, believing that unless you learn it, you will not be happy. You do not realize that the foundation on which this most peculiar learning goal depends means absolutely nothing. This does make sense to you. 2. Have faith in nothing and you will find the treasure that you sought. But you will add another burden to your mind which is already burdened on you, or you would not have sought another. You will believe that nothing is of value and will value it. You will believe that nothing is of value and will value it. Will value nothing. A little piece of glass, a speck of dust, a body, or a war are one to you. He puts a body next to a little piece of glass, a speck of dust. They're nothing. For if you value one thing made of nothing, you have believed that nothing can be precious and that you can learn how to make the untrue true. 3. The Holy Spirit seeing where you are but knowing you are elsewhere. The Holy Spirit seeing where you are but knowing you are elsewhere begins his lesson in simplicity with the fundamental teaching that truth is true. This is the hardest lesson you will ever learn, and in the end, the only one. Simplicity is very difficult for twisted minds. Consider all the distortions you have made of nothing, all the strange forms and feelings and actions and reactions that you have woven out of it. Nothing is so alien to you as the simple truth, and nothing are you less inclined to listen to. The contrast between what is true and what is not is perfectly apparent, yet you do not see it. The simple and the obvious are not apparent to those who would make palaces and royal robes of nothing, believing they are kings with golden crowns because of them. 4. All this the Holy Spirit sees and teaches simply that all this is not true. To these unhappy learners who would teach themselves nothing and delude themselves into believing that it is not nothing the Holy Spirit says, with steadfast quietness, the truth, quote, is true, nothing else matters, nothing else is real, and everything beside it is not there. Let me make the one distinction for you that you cannot make but need to learn. Your faith in nothing is deceiving you. Offer your faith to me, and I will place it gently in the holy place where it belongs. You will find no deception there, but only the simple truth, and you will love it because you will understand it. Quotation marks, close quotation marks. Like you, the Holy Spirit did not make truth. Like God, He knows it to be true. He brings the light of truth into the darkness and lets it shine on you. 5. And as it shines, your brothers see it. And realizing that this light is not what you have made, they see in you more than you see. They will be happy learners of the lesson which the light brings to them, because it teaches them release from nothing and from all the works of nothing. The heavy chains which seem to bind them unto despair, they do not see as nothing until you bring the light to them. And then they see the chains have disappeared, and so they must have been nothing. And you will see it with them. Because you taught them gladness and release, they will become your teachers in release and gladness. When you teach anyone the truth is true, you learn it with them. And so you learned that what seemed hardest was the easiest. 6. learn to be a happy learner. You will never learn how to make nothing everything. But see that this has been your goal and recognize how foolish it has been. Be glad it is undone. For when you look at it in simple honesty, it is undone. We said before, be not content with nothing. Quote unquote, be not content with nothing, for you have believed that nothing could content you. It is not so. If you would be a happy learner, you must give everything that you have learned over to the Holy Spirit. If you would be a happy learner, you must give everything that you have learned over to the Holy Spirit to be unlearned for you. And then begin to learn the joyous lessons that come quickly on the firm foundation that truth is true. For what is builded there is true and built on truth. 7. The universe of learning will open up before you in all its gracious simpleness. With truth before you, you will not look back. With truth before you, you will not look back. The happy learner meets the conditions of learning here, and he also meets the conditions of knowledge in the kingdom. And this lies in the Holy Spirit's plan to free you from the past and open up the way to freedom for you. For the truth is true. What else could ever be or ever was? This simple lesson holds the key to the dark door, which you believe is locked forever. You made this door of nothing, and behind it is nothing. The key is only the light which shines away the shapes and forms and fears of nothing. 8. Accept this key to freedom from the hands of Christ, who gives it to you that you may join him in the holy task of bringing light to darkness. Accept this key to freedom from the hands of Christ, who gives it to you that you may join him in the holy task of bringing light to darkness. For like your brothers, you did not realize the light had come and freed you from the sleep of darkness. Behold your brothers in their freedom, and learn of them how to be free of darkness. Behold your brothers in their freedom, and learn of them how to be free of darkness. The light in you will wake them, and they will not leave you asleep. The vision of Christ is given the very instant that it is perceived. Where everything is clear, it is all holy. The quietness of its simplicity is so compelling that you will realize it is impossible to deny the simple truth, for there is nothing else. God is everything, and his Son is in him with everything. Can he sing the dirge of sorrow when this is true? So we've read 2 sections out of 12. We are reading chapter 14, the light of guiltlessness. The first section, the logic of blessedness. The second one, the happy learner. The third, and we're going to read the third one, guiltlessness and invulnerability. Guiltlessness and invulnerability. 1. Learning will be commensurate with motivation, and the interference in your motivation for learning is exactly the same as that which interferes with all your thinking. The happy learner cannot feel guilty about learning. This is so essential to learning that it should never be forgotten. The guiltless learner learns so easily because his thoughts are free. But this entails a recognition that guilt is interference, not salvation, and serves no useful function at all. You are accustomed to using guiltlessness merely to offset the pain of guilt, and do not look upon it as having value in itself. You believe that guilt and guiltlessness are both of value, each representing an escape from what the other does not offer you. You do not want either alone, for without both you do not see yourself as whole and therefore happy. Just a minute, please. 2. You are whole only in your guiltlessness, and only in your guiltlessness can you be happy. You are whole only in your guiltlessness, and only in your guiltlessness can you be happy. There is no conflict here. To wish for guilt in any way, in any form, will block appreciation of the value of your guiltlessness and push it from your sight. There is no compromise that you can make with guilt and escape from pain, which only guiltlessness allays. Learning is living here, as creating is being in heaven. Learning is living here, as creating is being in heaven. While we're here, we're learning. When we're in heaven, we create. Whenever the pain of guilt seems to attract you, remember that if you yield to it, you are deciding against your happiness and will not learn how to be happy. Say therefore to yourself gently, but with the conviction born of the love of God and of His Son, what I experience, I will make manifest. If I am guiltless, I have nothing to fear. I choose to testify to my acceptance of the atonement, not to its rejection. I would accept my guiltlessness by making it manifest and sharing it. Let me bring peace to God's Son from His Father. 3. Each day, each hour and minute, even each second, you are deciding between the crucifixion and the resurrection, between the ego and the Holy Spirit. The ego is the choice for guilt. The Holy Spirit is the decision for blamelessness. The power of decision is all that is yours. What you can choose between is fixed, because there are no alternatives except truth and illusion. And there is no overlap between them, because they are opposites which cannot be reconciled and cannot both be true. You are guilty of guiltless. You are guilty or guiltless, bound or free, happy or miserable. 4. The miracle teaches you that you have chosen guiltlessness, freedom, and joy. It is not a cause, but an effect. It is the natural result of choosing right, attesting to your happiness that comes from choosing to be free of guilt. Everyone you offer healing to returns it. Everyone you offer healing to returns it. Everyone you attack keeps it and cherishes it by holding it against you. Whether he does this or does it not will make no difference. You will think he does. It is impossible to offer what you do not want without this penalty. Five, the cost of giving is receiving. The cost of giving is receiving. Either it is a penalty from which you suffer or the happy purchase of a treasure to hold dear. No penalty is ever asked of God's Son except by Himself and of Himself. Every chance given to Him to heal is another opportunity to replace darkness with light and fear with love. If He refuses it, He binds himself to darkness because he did not choose to free his brother and enter light with him. By giving power to nothing, he threw away the joyous opportunity to learn that nothing has no power. And by not dispelling darkness, he became afraid of darkness and of light. 6. The joy of learning darkness has no power over the Son of God. The joy of learning darkness has no power over the Son of God. Is the happy lesson the Holy Spirit teaches and would have you teach with him. It is his joy to teach it, as it will be yours. The way to teach this simple lesson is merely this: guiltlessness is invulnerability. Therefore, make your invulnerability manifest to everyone you meet, and teach him that, whatever he may try to do to you, your perfect freedom from the belief that you can be harmed shows him he is guiltless. He can do nothing that can hurt you, and by refusing to allow him to think he can, you teach him that the atonement which you have accepted is also his. 7. There is nothing to forgive. No one can hurt the Son of God. His guilt is wholly without cause, and being without cause cannot exist. God is the only cause, and guilt is not of him. Teach no one he has hurt you, for if you do, you teach yourself that what is not of God has power over you. The causeless cannot be. Do not attest to it, and do not foster belief in it in any mind. Remember always, mind is one and cause is one. You will learn communication with this oneness only when you learn to deny the causeless and accept the cause of God as yours. The power that God has given his Son is his, and nothing else can his Son see or choose to look upon without imposing on himself the penalty of guilt, in place of all the happy teaching that the Holy Spirit would gladly offer him. So I've read 3 sections of the 12 sections. I'm reading chapter 14, The Light of Guiltlessness. The first section, The Logic of Blessedness. The second one, The Happy Learner. The third one, Guiltlessness and Invulnerability. And I will start reading the fourth one, Guiltless Decision Making. 1. Whenever you decide to make decisions for yourself, you are thinking self-destructively, and the decision will be wrong. Whenever you decide to make decisions for yourself, you are thinking self-destructively, and the decision will be wrong. It will hurt you because of the concept of decision which led to it. It is not true that you can make decisions by yourself or for yourself alone. It is not true that you can make decisions by yourself or for yourself alone. No thought of God's Son can be separate or isolated in its effects. Every decision is made for the whole sonship, directed in and out, and influencing a constellation larger than anything you ever dreamed of. 2. Those who accept atonement are invulnerable. But those who believe that they are guilty will respond to guilt because they think it is salvation, and will not refuse to see it and side with it. They believe that increasing guilt is self-protection, and they fail to understand the simple fact that what they do not want must hurt them. 3. All this arises because they do not believe that what they want is good, and that I'm sorry, I'm going to reread that. 3. All this arises because they do not believe that what they want is good, and that will was given them because it is holy, and will bring to them all that they need, coming as naturally as peace that knows no limits. There is nothing their will fails to provide them help. There is nothing their will fails to provide that offers them anything of value. But because they do not understand their will, the Holy Spirit quietly understands it for them and gives them what they will without effort, strain, or the impossible burden of deciding what they want and need alone. It will never happen that you will have to make decisions for yourself. You are not better of help, and help that knows the answer. Would you be content with little, which is all you can alone offer unto yourself, when he who gives you everything will simply offer it to you? 4. He will never ask what you have done to make you worthy of the gift of God. Ask it not therefore of yourself. Instead, accept his answer. For he knows you are worthy of everything that God wills for you. Do not try to escape the gift of God which he so freely and so gladly offers you. He offers you but what God gave him for you. You need not decide whether or not you are deserving of it. God knows that you are. Would you deny the truth of God's decision and place your pitiful appraisal of yourself in place of his calm and unswerving value of his Son? Nothing can shake God's conviction of the perfect purity of everything that he created, for it is wholly pure. Do not decide against it, for being of him, it must be true. 5. Peace abides in every mind that quietly accepts the plan that God has set for his atonement, relinquishing his own. You know not of salvation, for you do not understand it. Make no decisions about what it is or where it lies, but ask of the Holy Spirit everything and leave all your decisions to his gentle counsel. The one who knows the plan of God, which God would have you follow, can teach you what it is. Only his wisdom is capable of guiding you to follow it. Every decision you undertake alone but signifies that you would define what salvation is and what you would be saved from. The Holy Spirit knows that all salvation is escape from guilt. You have no other enemy, and against this strange distortion of the purity of the Son of God, the Holy Spirit is your only friend. 6. He is the strong protector of your innocence, which sets you free. And it is his decision to undo everything that would obscure your innocence from your unclouded mind. He is so strong protector. He is a strong protector of your innocence, which sets you free. And it is his decision to undo everything that would obscure your innocence from your unclouded mind. Let him therefore be the only guide that you would follow to salvation. He knows the way and leads you gladly on it. With you, with him, you will not fail to learn what God wills for you is your will. Without his guidance, you will think you know alone and will decide against your peace as surely as you made the wrong decision in ever thinking that salvation lay in you alone. Without his guidance. Salvation is of him to whom God gave it for you. He has not forgotten it. Forget him not, and he will make every decision for you, for your salvation and the peace of God in you. Forget him not, and he will make every decision for you, for your salvation and the peace of God in you. 7. Seek not to appraise the worth of God's Son, whom he created holy, for to do so is to evaluate his Father and judge against him. And you feel guilty for this imagined crime, which no one in the world of heaven, no one in the world or heaven can possibly commit. God's Spirit teaches only that the sin of self-replacement on the throne of God is not a source of guilt. What cannot happen can have no effects to fear. Be quiet in your faith in Him who loves you and would lead you out of insanity. Madness may be your choice, but not your reality. Madness may be your choice, but not your reality. Never forget the love of God, who has remembered you, for it is quite impossible that He could ever let His Son drop from His loving mind, wherein He was created and where His abode was fixed in perfect peace forever. 8. Say to the Holy Spirit only, decide for me, and it is done. Decide for me, Holy Spirit, decide for me. For His decisions are reflections of what God knows about you, and in this light, error of any kind becomes impossible. Why would you struggle so frantically to anticipate all that you cannot know, when all knowledge lies behind every decision that the Holy Spirit makes for you? Learn of His wisdom and His love, and teach His answer to everyone who struggles in the dark, for you decide for them and for yourself. For you decide for them and for yourself. How gracious it is! How gracious is it to decide all things through Him, whose equal value is given equally to all alike. He leaves you no one outside yourself, alone without you. And so He gives you what is yours, because your Father would have you share it with Him. 9. In everything be led by Him, and do not reconsider. In everything be led by Him, and do not reconsider. Trust Him to answer quickly, surely, and with love for everyone who will be touched in any way by that decision, and everyone will be. Would you take unto yourself the sole responsibility for deciding what can bring only good to everyone? Would you know this? You taught yourself the most unnatural habit of not communicating with your Creator, yet you remain in close communication with Him and with everything that is within Him and is as it is within you, and learn isolation through His loving guidance, and learn of all the happy communication that you have thrown away but could not lose. 10. When you are in doubt what you should do, think of His presence in you and tell yourself this and only this. He leads me and knows the way which I know not. Yet He will never keep from me what He would have me learn. And so I trust Him to communicate to me all that He knows for me. Let Him teach you quietly how to perceive your guiltlessness, which is already there. So that's the end of section 4. I am going to read section 5, and section 4 had a beautiful prayer to say, whenever you're in doubt what you should do, think of the presence of the Holy Spirit in us and tell ourselves only this: He leads me and knows the way which I know not. Yet He will never keep from me what He would have me learn. And so I trust Him to communicate to me all that He knows for me. Such a beautiful prayer. So we've read, I believe this section had two prayers. So we're reading chapter 14, The Light of Guiltlessness, and we've read 4 of the 12 sections. The first one was the logic of blessedness, the second one, the happy learner, the third one, guiltlessness and invulnerability. The fourth one was guiltless decision making. We just know that we just let Him lead the way, right? And we are now going to start reading section 5, loving in a loveless place. 1. When you accept a brother's guiltlessness, you will see atonement in him. For by proclaiming it in him, you make it yours. By proclaiming it in him, you make it yours. And you will see what you sought. You will not see the symbol of the guilt of his guiltlessness shining within him while you still believe it is not there. His guiltlessness is your atonement. Grant it to him, and you will see the truth of what you have acknowledged. Yet truth is offered first to be received, even as God gave it first to his Son. The first in time means nothing, but the first in eternity is God the Father. Oh, the first in time means nothing, but the first in eternity is God the Father, who is both first and one. Beyond the first there is no other, for there is no order, no second or third, and nothing but the first. 2. You who belong to the first cause, created by him like unto himself and part of him, are more than merely guiltless. The state of guiltlessness is only the condition in which what is not there has been removed from the disordered mind that thought it was. This state, and only this, must you attain with God beside you. For until you do, you will still think that you are separate from him. You can feel his presence next to you, but cannot know that you are one with him. This need not be taught. Learning applies only to the condition in which it happens of itself. Three, when you have let that all that obscured the truth in you most, when you have let all that has obscured the truth in your most holy mind be undone for you, and stand in grace before your Father, he will give himself to you as he has already done, as he has always done. Giving himself is all he knows, and so it is all knowledge. For what he knows not cannot be, and therefore cannot be given. Ask not to be forgiven, but this has already been accomplished. Ask rather how to learn forgiveness and restore what always was to your unforgiving mind. Atonement becomes real and visible to them that use it. On earth, it is your only function, and you must learn that it is all you want to learn. 4. You will feel guilty till you learn this, for in the end, whatever form it takes, your guilt arises from your failure to fulfill your function in God's mind with all of yours. Can you escape this guilt by failing to fulfill your function here? You need not understand creation to do what must be done before the knowledge would be meaningful to you. God breaks no barriers, neither did he make them. When you release them, they are gone. God will not fail, nor ever has in anything. 5. Decide that God is right and you are wrong about yourself. He created you out of himself, but still within him. He knows what you are. Remember that there is no second to him. There cannot therefore be anyone without his holiness, nor anyone unworthy of his perfect love. Fail not in your function of loving in a loveless place, made out of darkness and deceit. For thus are darkness and deception undone. Fail not yourself, but instead offer to God and you his blameless Son. For this small gift of appreciation for his love, God will himself exchange your gift for his. 6. Before you make any decisions for yourself, remember that you have decided against your function in heaven, and consider carefully what you want to make decisions here. Consider carefully whether you want to make decisions here. Your function here is only to decide against deciding what you want, in recognition that you do not know. How then can you decide what you should do? Leave all decisions to the one who speaks for God and for your function as he knows it. So will he teach you to remove the awful burden you have laid upon yourself by loving not the Son of God and trying to teach him guilt instead of love. Give up this frantic and insane attempt, which cheats you of the joy of living with your God and Father and awaking gladly to him, to his love and holiness, which join together as the truth in you, making you one with him. 7. When you have learned how to decide with God, all decisions become as easy as and as right as breathing. When you have learned how to decide with God, all decisions become as easy and as right as breathing. There is no effort, and you will be led as gently as if you were being carried along a quiet path in summer. Only your own volition seems to make deciding hard. The Holy Spirit will not delay at all in answering your every question. What to do. He knows, and he will tell you and then do it for you. You who are tired might consider whether this is not most restful than sleep. For you can bring your guilt into sleeping, but not into this. So we've read 5 of the 12 sections. We are reading chapter 14. Chapter 14 is entitled The Light of Guiltlessness. And we've read 5 sections. The first one, The Logic of Blessedness. Second, The Happy Learner. Third, Guiltlessness and Invulnerability. Fourth, Guiltless Decision Making. 5, Loving in a Loveless Place. And we are going to read the sixth section, The Condition for Knowing God. The condition for knowing God. 1. Unless you are guiltless, you cannot know God, whose will is that you know him. Therefore, you must be guiltless. You must be guiltless. Unless you are guiltless, you cannot know God, whose will is that you know him. Therefore, you must be guiltless. For if you do not accept the necessary conditions for knowing him, you have denied him and do not recognize him though he is all around you. I'm going to repeat that. But if you do not accept the necessary conditions for knowing him, you have denied him and do not recognize him, though he is all around you. He cannot be known without his Son, whose guiltlessness is the condition for knowing him. Accepting his Son as guilty is denial of the Father so complete that knowledge is swept away from recognition in the very mind where God himself has placed it. If you would but listen and learn how impossible this is, do not endow him with attributes you understand. Do not endow him with attributes you understand. You made him not, and anything you understand is not of him. 2. Your task is not to make reality. It is here without your making, but not without you. You who have thrown yourself away and valued God so little, hear me speak for him and for yourself. You cannot understand how much your Father loves you, for there is no parallel in your experience of the world to help you understand it. There is nothing on earth with which it can be compared, and nothing you have ever felt apart from him that resembles it ever so faintly. You could not even give a blessing in perfect gentleness. Would you know of one who gives forever and who knows of nothing except giving? 3. The children of heaven live in the light of the blessing of their Father, because they know that they are sinless. The atonement was established as the means of restoring guiltlessness to the mind which has denied it, and thus denied heaven to itself. Atonement teaches you the true condition of the Son of God. It does not teach you what you are or what your Father is. The Holy Spirit, who remembers this for you, merely teaches you how to remove the blocks that stand between you and what you know. His memory is yours. If you remember what you have made, you are remembering nothing. Remembrance of reality is in Him and therefore in you. 4. The guiltless and the guilty are totally incapable of understanding one another. Each perceives the other as like himself, making them unable to communicate because each sees the other unlike the way he sees himself. God can communicate only to the Holy Spirit in your mind because only He shares the knowledge of what you are with God. And only the Holy Spirit in your mind can answer God for you, for only He knows what God is. Everything else that you have placed within your mind cannot exist, for what is not in communication with the mind of God has never been. Communication with God is life. Nothing without it is at all. 5. The only part of your mind that has reality is the part that links you still with God. Would you have all of it transformed into a radiant message of God's love to share with all the lonely ones who have denied Him with you? God makes this possible. Would you deny His yearning to be known? You yearn for Him as He for you. This is forever changeless. Accept then the immutable. Leave the world of death behind and return quietly to heaven. There is nothing of value here and everything of value there. Listen to the Holy Spirit and to God through Him. He speaks of you to you. There is no guilt in you, for God is blessed. God is blessed in His Son, as the Son is blessed in Him. Okay, we just read 6 sections out of 12. The first section, we're reading chapter 14, the light of guiltlessness. The first section, the logic of blessedness. The second section, the happy learner. The third section, guiltlessness and invulnerability. The fourth, guiltless decision making. The fifth one, loving in a loveless place. And the fourth section has a beautiful prayer whenever you're in doubt about what to do. And we just read the sixth one, the condition for knowing God, and we're about to start reading the seventh one. 7, the circle of atonement. The circle of atonement. Each one has a special part to play in the atonement, but the message given to each to share is always the same. God's Son is guiltless. Each one teaches the message differently and learns it differently. But until he teaches it and learns it, he will suffer the pain of dim awareness that his true function remains unfulfilled in him. The burden of guilt is heavy, but God would not have you bound to it. His plan for your awakening is as perfect as yours is fallible. You know not what you do, but he who knows is with you. His gentleness is yours, and all the love you share with God He holds in trust for you. He would teach you nothing except how to be happy. 2. Blessed Son of a holy blessing Father, joy was created for you. Who can condemn whom God has blessed? There is nothing in the mind of God that does not share His shining innocence. Creation is the natural extension of perfect purity. Your only calling here is to devote yourself with active willingness to the denial of guilt in all its forms. To accuse is not to understand. The happy learners of the atonement become the teachers of the innocence that is the right of all that God created. Deny them not what is their due, for you will not withhold it from them alone. 3. The inheritance of the kingdom is the right of God's Son, given Him in His creation. Do not try to steal it from Him, or you will ask for guilt and will experience it. Protect his purity from every thought that would steal it away and keep it from his sight. Bring the innocence to light in answer to the call of the atonement. Never allow purity to remain hidden, but shine away the heavy veils of guilt within which the Son of God has hidden himself from his own sight. We are all joined in the atonement here, and nothing else can unite us in this world. So will the world of separation slip away, and full communication be restored between the Father and the Son. 4. The miracle acknowledges the guiltlessness which must have been denied to produce need of healing. Do not withhold this glad acknowledgement, for hope of happiness and release from suffering of every kind lies in it. Who is there but wishes to be free of pain? He may not yet have learned how to exchange his guilt for innocence, nor realize that only in this exchange can freedom from pain be his. Teach him that this is so. Those who have failed to learn need nothing nor attack. To attack those who have need of teaching is to fail to learn from them. 5. Teachers of innocence, each in his own way, have joined together, taking their part in the unified curriculum of the atonements. I will reread that. 5. Teachers of innocence, each in his own way, have joined together, taking their part in the unified curriculum of the atonement. There is no unity of learning goals apart from this. There is no conflict in this curriculum, which has one aim, however it is taught. Each effort made on its behalf is offered to the single purpose of release from guilt, to the eternal glory of God and his creation, and every teaching that points to this points straight to heaven and to the peace of God. There is no pain, no trial, no fear that teaching this can fail to overcome. The power of God himself supports this teaching and guarantees its limitless results. 6. Join your own efforts to the power that cannot fail and must result in peace. No one can be untouched by teaching such as this. You will not see yourself beyond the power of God if you teach only this. You will not be exempt from the effort of this most holy lesson, which seeks but to restore what is the right of God's creation. From everyone whom you accord release from guilt, you will inevitably learn your innocence. The circle of atonement has no end, and you will find ever increasing confidences in your safe inclusion in what is for all, in everyone you bring within its safety and its perfect peace. 7. Peace then be unto everyone who becomes a teacher of peace. For peace is the acknowledgement of perfect purity, from which none are excluded. Within its holy circle is everyone whom God created as his Son. Joy is its unifying attribute. With no one left outside to suffer guilt alone. The power of God draws everyone to its safe embrace of love and union. Stand quietly within this circle and attract all who believe themselves to be outside to join you there. It is giving you the call of it is giving you the call it is giving you to call all tortured minds to join you in the safety of its peace and holiness. 8. Abide with me within it as a teacher of atonement, not of guilt. Blessed are ye who teach with me. Our power comes not of us, but of our Father. In guiltlessness we know him as he knows us guiltless. I stand within the circle calling you to peace. I stand within the circle calling you to peace. Teach peace with me and stand with me on holy ground. Remember for everyone your Father's power which he has given him. Believe not that you cannot teach his perfect peace. Stand not outside, but join with me within. Fail not the only purpose to which my teaching calls you. Restore to God his Son, as he created him by teaching him his innocence. 9. The crucifixion had no part in the atonement. Only the resurrection became my part in it. That is the symbol of the release from guilt by guiltlessness. Whomever you perceive as guilty, you would crucify. But you restore to guiltlessness whomever you see as guiltless. Crucifixion is always the ego's aim. It sees as guilty, and by its condemnation it would kill. The Holy Spirit sees only guiltlessness, and in his gentleness he would release from fear and reestablish the reign of love. The power of love is in his gentleness, which is of God, and therefore cannot crucify or suffer crucifixion. The temple you restore becomes your altar, for it was rebuilt through you, and everything you give to God is yours. Thus he creates, and thus must you restore. 10. Each one you see, you place within the holy circle of atonement or leave outside, judging him fit for crucifixion or redemption. Each one you see, you place within the holy circle of atonement or leave outside, judging him fit for crucifixion or redemption. If you bring him into the circle of purity, you will rest there with him. If you leave him without, you join him there. Judge not, except in quietness which is not of you. Refuse to accept anyone as without the blessing of atonement, and bring him into it by blessing him. Holiness must be shared, for therein lies everything that makes it holy. Come gladly to the holy circle and look out in peace on all who think they are outside. Cast no one out. For this is what he seeks along with you. Come, let us join him in the holy place of peace, which is for all of us united as one within the cause of peace. And it would be useful to stop here. So we've read 7 of the 12 sections of this chapter, and I'm going to start here and I'll retake it, if not later today, then tomorrow afternoon. So I have the whole chapter read in one day. Thank you.